Now today I'm very excited to be reviewing the Engwe Engine Pro electric bike. Because I've heard so many good things about Engwe and they have a reputation in the field of building a great e-bike. And a quick little disclaimer, Engwe, they did send me this bike for review purposes, but they didn't pay me for this review, they didn't tell me what to say, they don't get to see this video in advance, and all opinions are my own and honest as always with the review of this e-bike. So let's go over a few of the specs of this e-bike before getting into how it rides, power, braking, and its distance on a full charge, and of course top speed. Now this bike has a 750 watt rear hub motor that can peak out at over 1,000 watts, and a little bit more on that later. It has 20 by 4 inch fat tires, solid rims, dual shock suspension, shocks up front that are adjustable and lockable, and a rear shock that is mid-frame with a pivot point that takes care of all those bumps. It has an 8-speed Shimano shifter that is very smooth and works effortlessly. And now this is what I'm really excited about. It has hydraulic disc brakes front and rear. Well, why am I excited? Well, I want to see if I can really tell the difference in stopping power, as this is the first e-bike that I reviewed with hydraulic brakes. Now it can handle riders from 5'3" all the way up to 6'5". Now I'm 6'6", so no problem there, at a maximum weight of 333 pounds. It has a 48-volt, 16 amp hour rated battery, and Engwe claims that this bike can go 31 miles in all-electric mode only, or 93 miles with pedal assist, and we're going to test that claim later on. Now another cool thing about this Engwe Engine Pro is that it has a regenerative mode in the motor. So what I'm talking about is if you're coasting downhill, it can regenerate power back into the battery, and that's a nice little feature. I've had this e-bike for a little bit over a month now, and I've been able to test it extensively, so let's get into its ride quality and the pros and cons of this bike.
Okay, so what I love about this bike is it's all upright. You're just you don't have to bend over, it's fun, you don't have to do anything, you just sit up here and look around and it's all good. Okay.
It's more comfortable, why?
Because it's upright.
As compared to what? Like
bent over.
Bent over?
Bent over. I'm sure that bike's great, but I got spoiled by having upright handlebars.
Upright handlebar. It's good for your posture too, isn't it?
Yes, it was very nice and it's very comfy.
All right, I'm out with the Engwe Engine Pro, and I've already ridden this probably 6-7 times now, and it's a great little e-bike. And like I said in the beginning part of the intro, I really was excited about reviewing an Engwe just because it has such a reputation of being such a great e-bike. When you think of all the different e-bike companies that are out there, and there are a lot right now, because a lot of these different manufacturers, they're all manufactured at one assembly plant where you can, it's kind of like with budget action cameras, you can get the action camera that you want with the specs that you want in a generic housing, and just call the company whatever that you want and they'll brand it for you that way. Engwe seems to make their own bikes. Now right now I've got this in pedal assist number 5, and it's in normal mode. You've got eco mode, normal, and then sport mode. So I'm going to go throttle only, just full blast out, and you can see the power rating right now. So it's showing 829, 930 watts. I've had this peak over 1,100 watts before, and that just lets you know exactly how much power that a 750 watt motor can actually produce, since this one is supposed to produce a peak of over 1,000 watts. And it's showing 20.8, 21 miles an hour. I've gotten this one up to, oh, don't quote me. I might have to take a look at some of the other footage, but we're going to do a quick little speed run with this right now. And I'm going to change this to sport. So if you can see, that's on an orange sport mode right now. Pedal assist 5. So we're going full throttle. Very comfortable bike. I will say the front suspension and the rear suspension is just great on this. 25 miles an hour. 27. It's at 1100 watts, 27.3. So that gives you a good idea. Now let's test these hydraulic brakes, because that was one thing I really wanted to test out, was how was the hydraulic brakes on this. And let me tell you, there is a big difference between a hydraulic brake or manual brake. Hydraulic brakes work so good. Let's see, should I keep this in eco mode? Nah, I'll go to normal. And we'll continue on our little ride with this. Such a pretty day, very, very warm. Now you may have heard just a little bit of noise, and it's actually not coming from the motor. I'm gonna address that in one of the cons a little bit later on in this video. But right now, just how does it ride? It just rides really good. And I've got a pretty good little steep incline coming up here in about a half a mile or so that will be a good test to see how it does going up this incline. And I've already done this incline probably about, I don't know, 8-10 times already. So I already know it's gonna handle it just fine. Now this is a very small incline. I don't know, I would say this is probably about 3%, 4% grade. This is an all-around really nice e-bike. Rides just so good. But like anything, there are a couple of cons that I came across with this. But like I said, we'll talk about that a little bit later on in this video. And let's take this, can't really call it off-road, but let's just call it off pavement and see how she handles. Power-wise through the grass. And down a hill, going back up the hill. It's got no problem cutting through this field at all. You hear that little rattle and then the little clicking sound. Something going on with the handlebars. The handlebars are tight and the neck on it is tight. So I'm not quite sure if it's a bearing that is a little bit loose in it, but either way, something to notate. So if you do hear that noise, you kind of understand what it's about. The brakes on this are just great. I mean, I definitely recommend, and there's nothing wrong with mechanical brakes because we all kind of grew up on mechanical brakes with bicycles. But if you have an opportunity to get a bike, whether it's an e-bike or just a regular conventional bike that offers hydraulic brakes, definitely consider getting a bike with hydraulic brakes because it is night and day difference. How much pressure that you have to put on the brake versus stopping power, and we'll just come to a complete stop right there. I mean, I could lock them up really, really easy. This is the incline, I'd say about 20% grade. We'll head uphill. Normal mode, speed assist level number 5. And it's going right up it, no problem. 12, 13. You hear that clunk again? Let's go for a ride through the neighborhood here. So I've narrowed down what that rear noise is that you hear. And I first thought that it was a bad motor. So I reached out to Engwe about it, and they said for me to test this and this, and that they would send me a replacement motor, which was very nice of them, but I just thought, there's no way that it could be the motor. And if it is the motor, well, then, at least they're going to replace it. But I kind of figured out what it was. I saw one post online that mentioned this one issue. And like I said, I'll talk about the pros and cons overall. I mean, it's a great responsive bike. I get really good mileage out of it. And you can see, I mean, all the miles that I've been doing with this is in all electric mode. Now, yes, you could pedal this bike, but I will say that for an e-bike and being a foldable e-bike, it is still very, very heavy. So it's not something that you're going to want to bicycle and pedal unless you want gigantic Arnold Schwarzenegger legs and you're looking for a crazy workout, because when you consider it having fat tires and the fact that it's a heavy bike, and then you got to pull your own load, your weight-wise, it can be a little bit strenuous. Okay, let's see if we can see the screen here. And I will say, for a color screen, it's actually pretty bright out in the sun. We'll look at, see, maximum speed here. It says 33.9 miles per hour on a previous run. Average speed. Total distance, I've done 8 miles and I've got 79% battery, and that is strictly all e-bikes. So that's all throttle here. So that's something nice to kind of keep in mind, that I'll do some calculations to see exactly how that works out. But regarding the noise, so the fender here was actually mounted to where this sleeve part, these two parts of the fender were touching the frame, and it was making a horrific noise. So of course I moved that back from that post that I saw online. And then the next thing I noticed, and I zip tied it, is that this cable right here, it will tap this and make some vibration noise. I still get a little bit of vibration noise, and it could still be coming from the fender, or it still could be coming from this cable just a little bit. But that's something to keep in mind, so that if you hear that noise, and by the way, let me cut to that noise right now. 10.3 miles an hour in level 2. Three gets you up to about 15. But I can tell you, it's definitely in the motor. So let's do a little walk around look of this Engwe Engine Pro. Now I know that they have the Engine Pro 2 that has been released. Regarding putting it together, relatively easy. Just have to put the front wheel assembly on and then the handlebars. But there's no instructions regarding which way that the handlebar post here was supposed to actually turn, because you see it's got an angle to it here. So it can either angle straight up or a little bit back. And after a couple of videos I looked at, it's like, oh no, it's supposed to be angled front. There's that popping sound, and it's coming from this joint here. So I don't know if there is a bad bearing in there, but I've made sure that it is sealed straight down. I even hammered it a couple times to make sure that the sleeve is actually hammered down good. That's good. I love the fact that it's got dual adjustable brakes. So you've got, well, not dual adjustable, but dual brakes. You've got this one here, you can adjust how much pressure. You can also lock it out. You've got the center post shock right there that also has this pivot point, which is really, really comfortable. Of course, I love the fact that it's got a 750 watt motor that will peak out at over 1,000 watts, and I've gotten 1,100 watts a couple of times with it. The handles are nice and comfortable. They don't move around on you at all. Great screen, nice and bright, very intuitive. Love the hydraulic brakes on this. The build quality is outstanding on it. It does have a front headlight, and it does have a rear tail light. So when you turn on the headlight, the tail light will come on. And also when you hit the brake handles, a brake light will come on. So that's also very handy. Fenders are out of aluminum. Maximum weight you can put on here is 25 kilograms on the back rack. Overall, it's just a really nice riding bike. So let's talk about some of the cons of this bike. Well, the first con is going to be that rattling noise. As you heard, I mean, I was like, whoa, what is wrong with this? Because when I gave it throttle, it seemed like it was coming from the motor because it reacted to throttle. Come to find out it's the fender. So the fender design needs to be kind of redone, or I may end up putting little rubber washer into this area here. The second con is this front fork assembly on the handlebars, because it makes a popping sound, and it's not coming from the shock. You can actually feel it in the handlebars, so something is moving around here. But, you know, it could be a flawed bearing in it. That's not a big deal either, because, you know, it doesn't affect its handling at all. Here's the biggest con for me, and it may seem really weird to a lot of people for me to mention this, but it's the seat. This seat, even though it looks nice, and it does look nice, and with your hand it feels nice, but when you're riding on it, that dude right here is so uncomfortable. Now, I guess in the big scheme of things, I can change out the seat like I've done on another e-bike before, but the seat is very uncomfortable. But barring that, given the fact that you get really good range with the battery, you get outstanding power, it's very responsive. I like the fact that it's got that regenerative mode in the rear motor. So, I mean, I guess that would really come in handy if you're going down some steep hills to be able to take advantage of that, because I don't know what the regenerative power recycle is percentage-wise. So if you're going, I don't know, let's say 20 miles an hour downhill in regenerative mode, how much will that put back into the battery? Length of time versus percentage, that I don't know, but it's a nice little concept idea. I will say that when it's in regenerative mode and you let go of the throttle, it immediately goes regenerative, and you can feel that little motor brake, because now it's the inertia turning the motor trying to recharge it. And when you turn that off, it will coast nice and smooth. So something to keep in mind. But overall, I mean, great little bike from Engwe. I look forward to possibly testing some more of their bikes. But overall, I mean, do I give it 2 thumbs up? In the big scheme of things, given the fact of the little quality control issues, and that seat is super uncomfortable, I'll tell you. I mean, if you're a male and you're riding that, you're gonna think that you're gonna have to go see a prostate doctor, because your prostate's gonna hurt. But anyway, all in all, I'll give it 1.5 thumbs up, just overall on it, just because of some of the things that I came across. But other than that, it's a great bike. Engwe is very well known for making good bikes. I'd like to thank Engwe for sending me this bike out for review. As always, I'll put product links down in the description below. And if you've got an Engwe or you're thinking about one, tell me in the comment section below, what do you think about Engwe bikes, or what do you think about e-bikes in general? And as always, I'll catch you in the next review. Bye-bye.